So right now, Texas does not have any red flag laws. And I understand this is the first time it's being used in Washington. Is that right?
Well, it's actually the first time it's been used in the case of a admitted white supremacist, which we have here in Caleb Cole. So it's actually been used quite often in cases like suicides, let's say, where somebody is suicidal and the police come and take their guns, and then the court orders that the guns be kept for a period of time. But this was the first time where the FBI came to local authorities and said, hey, we're worried about this guy. They convinced a judge that Caleb Cole was a significant risk to public safety, and they took his guns using the red flag law.
So for anyone watching that may not be clear with what the red flag law does, can you explain that for our viewers?
Yeah, commonly in a criminal case, when there's a criminal charge filed, a judge will tell the defendant, you're not allowed to possess weapons while this case proceeds. In this case, a red flag law is a civil case, and there's a civil order, so there's no crime charge. But what the authorities have to convince the judge is that this person is such a significant threat to themselves or to other people that we're going to take their guns for a limited period of time while we sort all this out. And that's what a red flag law is. It's a civil order to surrender weapons.
So if somebody feels that a specific person could be a threat to the public, what kind of, I would say, proof or some sort of documentation has to be provided to judges? You know, how do they get that process going?
Yeah, that's a key point with the red flag law, and that's what makes it controversial. Of course, taking away somebody's Second Amendment right to bear arms is a big deal. So authorities do have to come in with proof. And in the case of Caleb Cole, he was an admitted member of Atomwaffen. He was running firearms training camps called hate camps here in Washington. And he was really part of pushing this ideology and this race war theory forward. And that was enough to convince the judge to take away those firearms you mentioned.
A judge in Washington state has a man's guns taken from him in Montana. No, I'm not making this up. Welcome to another installment of the Connecticut Gun Bench. Today's video is brought to you by P.A.N. Firearms, LLC. P.A.N. Firearms for NRA certification and multifaceted gun training. You can reach us at 203-300-6343 or use our website at www.panfarmsllc.com. As always, there'll be a link in the description box below. You like channel, like content, what I do here, you can support me with a link. Everything's appreciated. Online store is open. CGB20 will get you 20% off, free shipping. Connecticut residents, you got to pay that sales tax. I have no say in the matter, but CGB20 will get you 20% off. Let's talk about this. And I came across this story and mind blown. And I tried to find more information, which has become very difficult because obviously this is a very local story. But the premise is that this is an abuse of ERPO, Extreme Risk Protection Orders, TROs, Temporary Restraining Orders, and red flag laws. This is a flagrant abuse. As a judge in Washington, based on the complaint of a Seattle resident, has a man's guns taken from him in Montana. And I'm stunned that the local police department there in Montana in this man's district actually went through with this. But yeah, let me give you a basis for this. A man in Montana called his ex-girlfriend in Seattle. Don't know what the conversation was. I've been trying to find more information, but apparently he asked her a question. Who knows how the conversation went, but she then claimed that she felt threatened. She's in Washington, he's in Montana. She goes to the judge in Washington state, and the judge issues the ERPO order and sends it to Montana to have them enforce it. But it gets even worse. Let me show you how. Let's come into here. Washington judge issues bogus extreme risk protection order and takes away Montana man's guns. I'm gonna come right to here. An upstanding guy married and living in Montana called an old girlfriend living in the Seattle area to ask a question. Apparently that's all he did. Like I said, I've been trying to find more information. I can't find any information on what that question was, what led to her feeling threatened, but the former girlfriend contacted local police and reported that she felt threatened. Washington state is a liberal state and they had no problem getting on board with red flag laws, ERPOs, and everything else, but she Went to a judge. The judge issued an ERPO law. Montana prohibits ERPO laws. This is why I'm asking why the Montana Police Department in its guys area went along with this. But under which a judge can issue a temporary restraining order in an ex parte. Only the accuser's side of the story is told. But the Washington judge issues the TRO that, among other restraints, prohibited this Montana guy from possessing firearms. The TRO was communicated to the town where the Montana guy lives, and the local police department enforced the TRO by confiscating all the Montana guy's firearms. Because this guy had not been to Washington in 3 decades, and because the accused girlfriend recanted her story of threat, oh shocker, the judge reviewing the TRO dismissed it. But here's the twist. However, this Montana's victim cannot get his firearms returned. Washington State has a California-style 10-day waiting period before a firearm may be transferred. Therefore, the Washington court must wait another 10 days before officially notifying the Montana Police Department that it may return the victim's firearms. Meanwhile, the victim has had to engage both a Washington State attorney and a Montana attorney. Woo! But that is a flagrant abuse of red flag law, something I have warned about since day one they started pushing it. She recanted her story. Now, I'm of the opinion that she should get some charges. She should be charged, making a false statement. But this man gets dragged into the court system, paying for attorneys in 2 states to fight against something that he never did in the first place. Because clearly this woman's story is false because she recanted it. But this man is still jumping through hoops to get his property back that should never have been taken in the first place. I'm stunned that the Montana Police Department in this guy's area took the guns in the first damn place. Now he has to wait 10 days after the Washington court says, okay, yeah, he can get his stuff back. He's got to wait 10 days because of Washington law, not Montana law. That's mind-blowing, but this is an abuse. This is what I have talked about over and over again. Now this whole ideal of abusing these ERPOs and TROs is crossing state lines. Can you imagine somebody that you knew from years ago who lives in a blue state can go up to a judge and say, oh, so-and-so contacted me and said this? The judge doesn't even verify it. You just go, yep, here's your risk protection order. Oh, we'll contact the state he's in, and they got to take his guns away. This is crazy. It's getting out of control, and it needs to be reined in. When I saw this story, I was stunned on every level that somehow this crossed state lines, that the police went along with it, that the whole thing was dropped, yet this man still has to wait 10 days after the fact because of a law from another state. There's something wrong with that. I'm telling you, it's amazing. Like I said, red flag laws are ripe with abuse, and this is a perfect example of it. And I hope this guy gets his stuff back soon. And I hope he sues this woman for even making the story in the first place. Because clearly she recanted her story of a threat, which means that she made it up in the first place. There's something wrong with that. But let me know what you think. As always, you can leave your comments in the comment section below. And as always, any statements of violence or statements that lead to violence will be removed. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you're notified the next time a video goes live. I'm going to see you on the next one. Peace.